What are the biggest machines in the world? Think about it for a second. Is it the Large Hadron Collider that's a 17-mile underground ring where physicists are smashing particles at nearly the speed of light? Or is it the Bagger 288, the giant excavator out of Germany that can scoop up an entire building in one bucket? Or maybe it's the Three Gorges Dam in China. Over 2 kilometers long, it holds back 40 cubic kilometers of water and generates 100 terawatt hours per year. That's a lot of power. These are colossal and mind-blowing feats of engineering, but not even close to the biggest machines. That's because we tend to understand machines to be objects rather than systems. So with that in mind, what makes something big or the biggest? Is it the size or weight? What about scale or the energy it consumes or produces? Or what about its impact, the way it has and will shape economies or alter the trajectory of society? This question spiraled in my head recently after I finished the book, The Idea Factory. This was a book about the history of Bell Labs, the birthplace of some of the most important innovations of the 20th century. And I'm quite surprised at how many things came out of this organization. And one of those things was the Bell system. Now, it might seem trivial that the phone system is the biggest machine in the world, and I do have a second contender worth considering in another video. However, for now, it is important to recognize that the monumental achievement that was the Bell system and why, over 100 years later, is still the contender for the world's largest machine. From a few simple phone circuits crisscrossing New Haven, Connecticut in 1887, society's desire to connect and communicate drove the innovation and the build-out of the world's largest machine, the Bell system. At the end of the day, telephony started with 2 devices and a wire between them, allowing for barely passable bidirectional audio. But to make it a system where multiple users could initiate and receive calls, that required switching, because at the end of the day, it was still creating a physical electrical circuit between caller and receiver. And for a time this worked well. Local exchanges came online, providing local calling in each city, and AT&T started interconnecting these local exchanges with the long line service providing long distance. But a scale problem existed from the start. As more subscribers came online, this required more circuits, which required more switching facilities and more operators to connect each call. To solve this and support the continued growth of the Bell system, Bell Labs innovated an electromechanical step-by-step system to remove the human from the connection process. And mind you, this was before computers existed. And this is why the Bell system is a contender for the biggest machine in the world. It was a congruent system spanning across cities, states, and the continent. It was made up of tens of thousands of kilometers of copper, employed tens of thousands of people, and had an immense, almost immeasurable impact on society. From the moment a phone was picked up off the receiver, something physical was happening just down the street. As the phone dialed, more mechanical things were happening, building an electrical circuit to the caller's destination. This resulted in an electrical circuit from caller to receiver, regardless of geographical location or distance. And I think that's really cool. Electrons moving from one side of the country to the other. The Idea Factory was a fascinating read, not only to learn about the surprising number of innovations that came out of Bell Lab, which are impressive. Almost everything in our world had some footing or basis from Bell Labs, but more so that the culture that was created to enable some of the brightest minds to invent and innovate based on one simple principle. The invention or innovation needed to be better, cheaper, or both. So inspired by the book and my passion for learning, I'm launching a YouTube channel called Better, Cheaper, or Both. Business is run on technology, machines, and systems, and I intend to explore the technologies of yesterday and the innovations of tomorrow and how they will impact businesses and society as a whole with the simple lens: are they better, cheaper, or both? So if you're curious about how technology is challenging the status quo, transforming industries, and making the world a better place, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the future.